communities. Minneapolis Air dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune into Minneapolis Air on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Signing up for $1 bus and train rides with the Transit Assistance Program, or TAP, is quick and easy. Do it straight from your computer or phone by uploading one of the pre-approved documents listed at metrotransit.org/TAP, along with a copy of your ID. We'll mail you a to-go card with a full year of discounted rides. For questions or translation help, call 612-373-3333. 612-373-3333.
Did you know that from birth to age 3, simple activities like talking, playing, reading, and singing can profoundly impact your child's development? Little Moments Count is dedicated to providing parents with the resources they need to make the most of these moments. Visit the website littlemomentscount.org to connect to a collection of resources designed to support you in giving your child the best start in life. That's littlemomentscount.org. Now showing at MIA, artist Mary Sully was a visionary ahead of her time. Born on the Standing Rock Reservation, she worked in near obscurity between the 1920s and 1940s, creating intricate, vividly colored drawings that blend Dakota heritage with modern life. Now on display at the Minneapolis Institute of Art, experience the first solo exhibition featuring Mary Sully's work and see how her art challenges traditional ideas of Native and modern art. Only at MIA and always free to visit. Learn more at artsmia.org.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Cloudy tonight with a low of 36, then Wednesday sunshine with a high of 62. Maverick's Real Roast Beef is known for their namesake sandwiches, but don't miss out on all the other great selections like crispy chicken, Philly steak, fish, and brisket. Don't forget the fresh fries or onion rings to make it a perfect combination. Mavericks is in Roseville on Lexington Avenue, a mile south of Highway 36. Visit their website at mavericksbeef.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut. Give me cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake. Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Kadagi to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. Hey, we discuss local, national, Native news and events. And as you know, Chujunk, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
Yes, you are right, Dega. And this portion of the show is supported by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Wow, this is a National Pet Month, and I have our little dog down here on my feet, Haley, and there's a lot of other things going on here, but you had a great weekend, I saw.
I did. Yeah, it's April. There's a lot of things going on. It's kind of the end of sugar bushing season, as I say, getting into the warmer temperatures. I was able to go to Wild River State Park, which is a little bit north of Taylor's Falls. It's about an hour northeast of the Twin Cities, St. Paul area. But that's a state park I had never been to. It's a lot more quiet, less foot traffic state park, which was really cool. And they were doing a maple syrup day. So I was able to go out there and kind of see the process about, and we learned to identify different types of maple trees and a couple different trees in the area. And then we got to experience tapping our own maple tree and then tasting a couple of the sugar waters out there, seeing how they boiled that down to make it syrup. And yeah, I learned a lot about syrup. Did you know that there's not like a taste difference between light syrup and dark syrup?
No, I didn't.
I know that. I learned that.
Wow.
This weekend. Yeah.
That's cool. You boil it down. I'm glad you're getting all that information so you can help me and a bunch of people sugar bush next year with our new land that we're getting and our hidden land. And I talked to some people about putting a chipotle out there and nice. They're all for it. So it's really cool. Hey, Haley, I want to tell you too that I was at the state capitol.
Oh yeah, Saturday.
Yes, and there was 25 to 30,000 people there. I couldn't believe it. I was, pulling up to my secret place in the Sears parking lot, and usually can park there and walk a couple blocks to the Capitol.
Yeah.
And the lot was full when I got there.
Oh, yeah. It looked like 80,000 people at
Yeah.
the state capitol from what I was seeing. I mean, just picturing like the crowds at US Bank Stadium at like football games. It looked like more people than that, but that was great turnouts at different state capitals all over the country
Yeah.
on Saturday, which was very, very cool to see. It kind of gave me a bit of hope.
Yeah. Well, we got to pull out the resist shirts and have people be able to purchase our resist shirts very soon. And I know I saw State Senator Mary Kunesh with our resist jacket on, and that was very
Oh, yeah.
cool. And uh, yeah, it's great. And it was interesting too. Smaller towns did it. I know even
Yeah.
like where I live, or right by where I live, Highland Park, they were doing it on the streets there. So not only were they at capitals, and I saw like in Manhattan, New York, they were marching down the street, and those streets were jam packed. So big
Mhm.
shout out to everybody out there doing their thing, and big shout out to you for working on the decolonizing the
Yeah.
sugar bush. That's very cool. I wish I would have made that too.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm sure there'll be plenty more opportunities. And yeah, I just want to shout out the people that put that on at the state park. That was a great collaboration. But yeah, a lot of things going on in April. I know we got next month to look forward to, American Indian Month kickoff here in Minneapolis. April is also Sexual Assault Awareness Month. We talked about this a little bit last week. A couple of great local resources here: Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition and Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center. I know we're going to have Ruth Anna Buffalo on with us today. Yeah, we got Minneapolis Air coming up tomorrow. Christine McDonald will be back talking about happenings and going on in Minneapolis.
Yeah, and I just can't get enough of those commercials that you voiced over a year ago. That's I love it, and I hope we never have to change that again.
Oh, I know. Well, I want to mention too also, April is Environmental Awareness Month. And Earth Day is coming up on April 22nd. So if you're able to pick out some good spots, I've been seeing a lot of litter in areas that need to be picked up around like railroad tracks, specifically like freeway exits. If you're ever going to go volunteer to pick up some of that, make sure you're wearing gloves or you have a little poker to pick up those glass and other sharp objects. And then also wearing reflective gear if you're near any busy highways.
Yeah, definitely. And it is that time of year. You're right. I've seen a lot of trash once the snow has melted, and we really didn't have that much snow because of global warming here in Minnesota, which is mind blowing. But yeah, so we also, later in the show too, we have Anna Negretti on, and she had this really nice segment on the local news here on Channel 5, and had some really cool updates that I'd like her to share with our listeners.
Yeah, Anna is the interim director for the Minnesota State MMIR, Missing and Murdered Indigenous Relatives Office. Yeah, it'll be great to hear some updates from them. I know what else is going on this week before we get Ruth Anna on. I think we got full moons this week. So we've got some full moon ceremonies coming up for our women and relatives who identify as female. A couple local resources that do full moon ceremonies. St. Paul has the American Indian Family Center that hosts those out at the Bellwin Conservancy in Afton. And then Native American Community Clinic usually hosts theirs in Minneapolis. Sometimes at MIWRC. So we'll have to see. We'll have to ask Ruth.
Hey, well, we always want to give a shout out to people that are listening to us and remind everyone how they can listen to us on live. We're on Facebook Live and YouTube, and we're on Blue Sky. And I just want to give a shout out to Robin from Massachusetts, watching us here on Facebook Live. I do believe, Facebook Live. And so it's exciting that we're all over and people can listen to us after the show is done on all those pesky little iTunes and Spotify and all that.
Yeah, your podcast platforms. Thanks for listening to us. And Yeah, we hope y'all are having a great start to your week. I think Ruth
It's
Anna is on here.
Tuesday.
Yeah, it's Tuesday. We did take a day off
Yeah.
yesterday. We're supposed to have our little weekly updates from the Minnesota Historical Society to we want to wish Rita that she feels better soon. And
Yeah.
a lot of cool things happening over at the History Center. Their free days are Thursday, and that's in
Mhm.
St. Paul, just right off of Kellogg.
Yeah, I got to get to that. Hey, we have our friend Ruth Anna Buffalo, CEO of Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center. And I only got a couple minutes in this segment, but always great to see you and hear the updates, and really great to see you in community, and you and your family are strong members now of Minnesota. So, hoa. Welcome.
Thank you. Matsugadads and Dosha, good to see you both.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah,
Thank
great
you.
to see you. Hey, well, we want to talk about what's coming up here really quick. The Healing Group coming up on April 11th from 5 to 7. We can squeeze that in the next couple minutes here and then talk about some more stuff in the next segment, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no problem. We have the we share with our relatives who seek healing. Excuse me. We share with our relatives who seek healing. I'm not going to try to attempt to say this in the Ojibwe language. So I'm not there yet, but totally 100% support and respect our relatives. But it's join us for a jingle dress healing dance and giveaway for all victims of crime, featuring the Bear Runner Drum Group. This is in partnership with the National Crime Victims' Rights Week, which is this week, April 6th through the 12th. And their theme is kinship, connecting, and healing. So yep, there's the flyer right there. We have some pretty talented staff on board within the MIWRC team who designed the flyer. And so yeah, we're looking forward to a good event. Fortunately, I won't be able to be there. I'll be offsite at a meeting, a working group meeting for supportive housing. That'll be at the Shooting Star statewide group, but definitely will be supporting from afar. So hope everybody can come to this free event, Healing at the Community Room, this Friday, April 11th. There'll be jingle dress dancers and food and giveaways for everyone. So Madzigidads, thank you.
Hey, we'll be right back with Ruth Anna Buffalo, a Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center here in the Twin Cities. Native Roots Radio will be right back.
Doherty Family College at the University of St. Thomas is your pathway to a bachelor's degree. Located in downtown Minneapolis, Doherty Family College offers an affordable education that includes free textbooks, a laptop, meals, career coaches, and a Metro Transit pass. As a full-time Doherty Family College student, you'll benefit from mentorship from St. Thomas faculty, along with paid internships and support from Minnesota's largest private college. Ready to turn your dreams into reality? Apply now at dfc.stthomas.edu. Doherty Family College, your journey to success starts here.
Support for Native Roots Radio comes from the Walker Art Center, an art space that's more than the spoon and cherry. Galleries celebrate contemporary visual art, including Indigenous artists like Edgar Heap of Birds, Cheyenne and Arapaho Nation, and Jim Demini, Ojibwe. Additionally, films screen in the cinema, and performances are shown on stage. Free every Thursday night and free every day for members and citizens of tribal nations. Learn more at walkerart.org. Again, that's walkerart.org. Did you know that from birth to age 3, simple activities like talking, playing, reading, and singing can profoundly impact your child's development? Little Moments Count is dedicated to providing parents with the resources they need to make the most of these moments. Visit the website littlemomentscount.org to connect to a collection of resources designed to support you in giving your child the best start in life. That's littlemomentscount.org.
Have you considered a career in the museum field? The Minnesota Historical Society is now accepting applications for its Native American Museum Fellowship. The 10-week summer program is a mix of workshops, seminars, and hands-on internships at the Minnesota Historical Society. It is open to undergraduate students, recent graduates, and community scholars with an interest in museums and heritage studies. Learn more and apply now at mnhs.org/NAI.
Anine, I'm Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, and you are listening to Native Roots Radio.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Native American Community Development Institute, or NACD, in Minneapolis.
Hey, we are here with Ruth Anna Buffalo, CEO of the Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center here in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis. And Ruth, I always like to bring up, how we can support you. But before I do that, I'd like to know how is cleanup efforts going on with the windows of the building, and again, we need people to reach out to you and support you guys.
Yes, thank you. We are cleanup efforts are going well. We have the windows replaced, but we still could use help with this unexpected expense. So we do have a link on our Facebook page. It's through Give Butter. I believe it's givebutter.com/MIWRC. And I believe we've raised at least 25%. We were trying to have a goal of raise 10,000 within 1 week. And so we're well on our way. So if you wouldn't mind sharing that link out there again, it's givebutter.com/MIWRC.
Ruth, I have hearing aids now. Did you say butter, like Butter?
Yes, it's called Give Butter. It's a website. I mean, it's fairly it's very user friendly, and I believe the return is the majority of all the proceeds go back to individuals, or to people raising the funds.
Oh, very cool. So it's kind of a newer one that really doesn't take a big slash out like some of these other groups, like our Patreon there. That I just got to give everyone a shout out too. Thanks for giving to our Patreon here in Native Roots Radio. Hey, how are the spots filling up for the Ledger Art Workshop on May 22nd? Because that's another thing that I'd love to be able to do, along with the cakewalk.
Yeah, I believe we are still taking registrants for the ledger art. I haven't received word yet that, usually I'll get a notification or notice, that the session is full. They'll be like, pump the brakes. No, we're full, we're at capacity, but no, we're not there yet. And so, I encourage everybody to contact Zawin Gonzalez, Z Gonzalez at miwrc.org to get registered, or call 612-728-2000.
Yeah. Wow. Awesome. And then I know what's really, you guys just celebrated 40 years at Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center. And I know you hold weekly drop-in hours on Tuesday, that provides meals and things like that. That's just amazing what your organization does. And I don't know if you want to just talk a little bit about that too.
Sure. As a result of, opening the doors in the community room, the gym for the Emergency Warming Center, we've also expanded off of that. And it just kind of organically happened. So we're hosting, the Tuesday Resource Connect from 9 to 3. We have our cook, they call her Grandma Margaret. She also cooks during the Emergency Warming Center. She cooks breakfast and lunch every Tuesday. And then there are service providers on site to help get people connected to resources. For example, Hennepin County Streets to Housing is there, and they've been there since day one when we opened the Emergency Warming Center on January 6th. And also we have targeted case managers from Minnow Bee Wellness Clinic, which is run by Red Lake Nation. And then also we have White Earth Nation on site as well. So lots of good resources, a good time to connect and just be in community.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And we always have to talk about that. And again, the pillar of Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center in Minnesota is just, we're really blessed to know you and have you on the show and talk about these great things that that you do for helping in your community. And that's so huge. And I love to amplify that.
I'm, honored and just honored to be a part of the community and to be able to help assist the good work that's been happening here for generations. And so, not being from here, being a visitor and a guest, I'm from the Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara Nation. My dad is Chiricahua Apache, but it's been good. It's beautiful to be along the river. We are from the Missouri River, and so it's good to have cultural exchanges and to support one another. Because I think we need each other, and
Mhm.
there's things that we share with each other to help one another, and it's just good to be able to give back. And I know that someday, you know we just don't know how things will go in the future, and it's just good to be good to one another, and find that mutual support and respect for one another. I think is beautiful.
That is beautiful, and I have to ask you this because we're on 30 stations across the country daily, and what football team is your family rooting for?
Gosh, well, I'm not really a football person,
Okay.
but I mean, Minnesota Vikings.
Okay.
Just kidding.
Well, sorry, our Wisconsin listeners, you heard that. Oh wow.
My husband is a Raiders fan, so I support him.
Oh, well now
But I'm
now
I'm not a
they're
fan.
in
I'm neutral, so I'm more basketball. So
right.
Right.
So
yeah,
so we could say Timberwolves.
sure, yeah, Timberwolves. And
Timber-
when I lived here years ago too, a long time ago, before when I was single with no dependents, I would joke and say that. But long time ago, I lived in Minneapolis, and I lived off of Cedar. Near home of the famous Juicy Lucy's. But so yeah, I remember being a pretty avid Vikings fan. I think Randy Moss was with the Vikings back then, and actually had a membership to a health facility that was located underneath the Target Center, which was pretty cool, to have a
You did
membership
that?
there way back then, huh? I don't know if they still have that. It's like a health fitness
Yeah, definitely.
facility below the Target Center. It had full gyms and all the workout
Yeah,
equipment and stuff. But
I don't know, but I think we're going to get a hoop at Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center so we can come over and play at least some pig or something.
horse, yeah, that would be
Yeah, or
amazing. That would be amazing, even if it was like in the parking lot too. I think outdoor one. We have one out here on the curb.
yeah, definitely. Well, again, I just want to say it's always great to have you on, and it's great to have you in community. Now you've been with Minnesota Indians Women's Resource Center for over a year now, right?
Yes, March 4th. Yep, March 4th. So 1 year and 1 month and 4 days. No, I'm just kidding.
How many hours? Oh wow! Well, Haley and I were excited to hear that you were uh, uh, were in the cities and becoming the CEO, and we came that opening night that the community greeted you, and that was just something that I always remember. And you'd been on the show many times over the years, and we felt like a little butthurt that you didn't tell us that this was going on. So
Oh, gee.
yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, just kidding.
Dang.
Totally
That's
did it.
crazy.
I shared
I
them.
mean, yeah, everything has always kind of been a whirlwind. And,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I always remember that meet and greet, and then being invited right across the hall to the community room to the cedar ceremony. And that was the first
Mm.
time I had ever attended a cedar ceremony. And then from there, I got invited to a women's sweat that following Saturday. And it
Wow.
was just amazing. And then it was full circle. I went to the return to the women's sweat a year, almost exactly a year to the day, um, in March. And then I was gonna go again this past month, but then it burnt down. There was a fire there,
Oh,
but I know they're rebuilding. But I was gonna say though, it really caught me by surprise, the abundance of access to ceremony here in the Twin Cities area. There's a lot of amazing people here, especially within, I'm biased, but within the Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center. We have traditional healing practitioner George, and then also traditional birthing director Umbaji, and they're really good, amazing people to have on board. And so we have access to traditional healing and ceremonies. It's in abundance here in the Twin Cities area, and it's pretty neat to see that and have access.
Yeah, well, that's great. We're lucky to be here. 78,000, what I heard, Native Americans and 150 different tribes that are here in the Twin Cities at the very least. Ruth Anna, thank you so much for coming on, and thanks for funning around with us here, and then also talking serious about what the great work that you guys and your people that work at Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center do. So thank you so much, and have a good week. We'll see you next week.
Matsugadad. See you.
Hey, this is Native Roots Radio. We'll be right back, and we have Anna Negretti on, and she was just on the local news, and we're going to grill her on what that was all about. Hey, this is Native Roots Radio. We'll be right back.
End-of-life decisions are not easy to make. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Hospice Care. It's important to make sure that this difficult time is meaningful and comforting to you and your loved ones. Our hospice team provides an individualized program of physical, emotional, spiritual, and practical care so your loved one is comfortable and not in pain. At Mary T. Hospice, we understand that choosing the right hospice care provider can be overwhelming, but we're here to assist you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
Hey, it's Patrick. Spring showers may bring May flowers, but they also bring big savings with Zero Res. And right now, you can beat the spring cleaning rush with big savings and priority booking by calling our heroes at Zero Res. Zero Res removes winter's buildup and lingering odors, giving your home a fresh, spring-ready feel, preparing your home for the brighter days ahead. Just check out the almost 21,000 raving customer service reviews online with a 4.9 Google rating and see what all the hype is about. This month, get 3 rooms Zero Resified from Minnesota's #1 carpet cleaner, starting at just $119, and take $75 off an air duct cleaning as well. You owe it to yourself and your family to breathe healthy, happy, and clean. Call Zero Res right now at 9520-RES or go online to ZeroResMinnesota.com and say you want the AM 950 special. Spell it backward or forward, it's the same. Zero Res.
Hi, this is Frank Brown of Minuteman Press Uptown with a question for our local leaders. How do you reward your employees? How do you appreciate your business partners? Thousands of local organizations just like yours count on Minuteman Uptown for promotional products. We craft custom awards and plaques. We print your logo on apparel, office supplies, and thousands of other items. Minuteman Uptown helps you reward employees and stay top of mind with customers and vendors. We print everything. Contact us today at mpuptown.com.
Turn to Auto Technical with your vehicle donation. Even though Auto Technical is a small nonprofit, we have helped more families with transportation than any organization in Minnesota. Since '94, we have reconditioned donated vehicles so they have a higher tax benefit. Call Richard at 612-919-5526, 612-919-5526, or autotech.org.
Hi, I'm Peter Solak.
And I'm Adam Ostrowski.
We are here at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces to talk about the joy of live fire cooking. Cooking over a live fire is the oldest and most basic form of cooking.
What's new is in the way fire is handled and its heat is managed.
It's easier to experience and enjoy the smell and taste of food cooked over a live fire.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces sells and installs live fire grills, fire pits, and ovens. Let us help you experience the smell, the taste, the fun of cooking with fire.
Pizza was first made and is still best made in an open fire oven. The radiant and conductive heat of a live fire is unmatched for wood roasting and baking artisan breads too.
Come see the many ways you can cook over a live fire.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces has over 35 working wood and gas units on display at the corner of East Franklin and Riverside Avenue in Minneapolis. More information at woodlandstoves.com. Find the fire that works for you. Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, out of the ordinary products and services since 1977.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Cloudy tonight with a low of 36, then Wednesday sunshine with a high of 62. Maverick's Real Roast Beef is known for their namesake sandwiches, but don't miss out on all the other great selections like crispy chicken, Philly steak, fish, and brisket. Don't forget the fresh fries or onion rings to make it a perfect combination. Mavericks is in Roseville on Lexington Avenue, a mile south of Highway 36. Visit their website at mavericksbeef.com.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Native American Community Clinic on Franklin Avenue in Minneapolis, honoring health and tradition.
Hey, we are here with our friend Anna Negretti, who's Minnesota Missing Murdered Indigenous Relatives Office Interim Director. That's a mouthful, and it's hard for me to read. Welcome, as always, Anna. Great to see you. I got to see you last night. I want to talk a little bit about that, but welcome.
Thank you. Good to see you as well. Yeah, we have a public information officer, so we were telling some success stories, and so here I am.
Right on. For the people that are just tuning in, and we're on 30 stations across the country 5 days a week, so you can just mention a little bit about the office to people that may not know first.
Yeah, we're the first state in the nation to have a missing murdered Indigenous relatives office, and so we're here to support families that are impacted by MMIR across the state. Recently, we've supported some other states as well as they look to us to see what we're doing. But what we try to do is really help families communicate with law enforcement, advocate for systems change, and just really help raise awareness around MMIR state and nationwide, and just how much that impacts our communities. Indigenous people in the state of Minnesota make up 1.4% of the population, but last year, in 2024, 10% of the homicides that occurred, the missing persons that occurred were Indigenous women. And so there's definitely a disparity there. And so we're working to address that on lots of different levels, but that's a little bit about our office and what we do.
That's awesome. And then I want to just throw out too, because whenever I get in my car, I look at my car and I have a license plate and how successful that program was. And mine says land back.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's the third most popular license plate here in Minnesota, and Senator Kunish set that up with others to support the MMIR reward fund that we're still working on rolling out. But it's raised $90,000 in revenue as of, I want to say, early February. It was so a little bit less than a year. That will go back and support families as they search for their relatives to help raise awareness, billboards, flyers, those kind of efforts. And so we're excited to have that as part of something that we do here in Minnesota as well.
Well, last night I was watching the news, which I do, and I saw a local station here had something about your organization, and I was thinking, I got to watch this, because this station's pretty notorious about not liking things that we do in particular, but it was a great segment.
Yeah, it was the lead up stories to those made me a little bit nervous too, when they were talking about how we're using our funding. But I was happy to talk a little bit about some of the successes we have had in the past year. Recently, part of the things that we do within the offices, we raise awareness. And last July, we were up in Winnipeg, Canada, presenting on the overlap of MMIR and human trafficking. And so we got to meet some great folks there. A few months later, in September, we got a call from Fergus Falls Police Department, and they said, hey, we have this, really kind of different situation. There's an Indigenous woman. She's alive, but she's having trouble providing information about who she is, where she's from, and we could use your support. What was super cool about this, kind of the whole this whole event or this whole everything that happened during this kind of time period, and it took a while to process everything, but was that people that didn't need to be involved or usually would say, hey, this is not our case, this is not our issue, including law enforcement in this case, they cared to reach out to our office. Social workers this wasn't their issue, their problem. They went above and beyond to make sure that we figured out who she was. And so I traveled up to Fargo and built some rapport with the sister, and she was able to tell me a little bit more information. And the reason why I had mentioned Canada is because we had an image of her, and I just said, from what she's telling me, it sounds like Canada, and they kind of had some indication that way. And so I had reached out to the folks that we had met back in July, and they're like, we recognize her. That's, she's one of ours. And so they too went above and beyond, and they made sure that as we started to make plans to get her home, that she would have all the support that she needed when she returned, including, all kinds of different levels of care that she needed and support she needed. Folks from the Salvation Army made sure that she was able to cross without issues because she didn't have identification. And so they help with those, all these. It's just a big group of folks who really came together and made sure that she got home safely, where she felt supported. They came down, they had folks that she recognized, that she knew, that she felt safe with. And what I mentioned on the news last night is that we don't always get that care when somebody, is at risk or in danger or in situations where they're vulnerable. Sometimes we hear about those, not at games, or else, they'll find their way. But in this case, that it turned out really differently. And so I was really happy to be a part of that. And it just really speaks to the importance of developing the relationships that we've strived to do within MMIR. Building bridges with law enforcement, building bridges with all kinds of folks, who knew a tour to the shelter would really kind of crack that open and get that ball rolling to make sure that she got home. But as we were up and presenting, there was a shelter up in Winnipeg, and they said, hey, come check out our spot. This is, where unsheltered folks come, and spent some time with them and had, stayed in contact. So just the importance of those relationships and really providing better service for our family has made a difference in that case. So that was one of the success stories that was highlighted last night.
Yeah, definitely. And, that is a success story, and that keeps you going. I'm wondering, for yourself and the people that work in this work, what do you do for your mental health? Because it isn't always a success story. How do you take care of yourself?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's hard, and I have to be on top of that. And so I do use my traditional medicines. I go and I pray and do those type of things. And that's so important. Every week we're hearing stories and cases. I was took some time off this past week and ended up in Bismarck on another search, and met some other relatives and other folks that were for a missing man in North Dakota. And so it's something that you have to do on a regular basis, because those families are hurting so deeply. And you hear what they're going through, and the loss and the not knowing and all these questions. And it weighs on you. The positive side of that is that being connected with those families really pushes me personally, and I know our office, to work harder. We know we have to do more. Being an organization and a state organization, we know we're not the end all be all solution for MMIR. We're not going to come and solve the MMIR crisis alone, but together with community organizations like MUSAC, like Minnesota Indian Women Resource Center, like folks that were doing the work long before we came on board. That's how we make an impact, and by listening to families and taking care of ourselves, because like you mentioned, if we don't, then it's harder to do the work, because that hurt we carry.
Yeah, you guys are definitely boots on the ground, and I've known that since the office opened up. You're going to places that that are hard to go to sometimes, especially if you're in a recovery situation as opposed to a missing situation. That's hard.
Yeah, and we don't always know going into those spaces, but something that I learned really early on was that showing up matters. We can't just be in our offices and writing policy and saying this is how we want it to change. Showing up has mattered, and so we try and do that. We're a small office with a pretty small staff of right now. We just hired somebody new, and so we'll have an office of 4, but we have statewide jurisdiction, but we do our best to be out in community and support our families in the way that they're asking us to do. And so hopefully we can continue that and grow.
I always like to have a call to action when we have guests like you on. And is there anything that our community can do to support you, support what's going on in your office besides buying a license plate? I know Haley's up next for the license plate, right, Haley?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out my little custom
Yeah.
numbers.
What you want on there. Yeah, they give you a couple options to if you don't get your first choice. But the license plate is good too, but just keeping an eye on social media, something easy as sharing a post. That's important work to raise that awareness. If you have the ability to go out on searches, please come. Know that families are out searching oftentimes after law enforcement goes away or when, kind of when those resources are deployed, families are still going out and searching. And so if you're seeing that in your community, take some time. If you're not physically able, bring a pot of soup, bring some bread, bring some water, bring something and support families in that way. So there's lots of ways that you can engage. If you're interested in learning more, our board meetings are open as well. And so we meet second Wednesday of the month. So if you want to learn more and hear about what we're doing, that's another way that folks can get engaged and learn about what we're doing in our office.
How does someone get an invite to that, or how do you get more information on that?
Yeah, you can find it on our website on DPS under the missing and murdered unit, and then you'll see 2 tabs. You'll look at the advisory board and the link is provided there. Again, it's Wednesday morning, the second Wednesday of the month. Next month, I think, is our next meeting is in May, starting at 9 a.m. So tomorrow we'll be up at the state capitol supporting the missing and murdered Black women and girls office, their first day at the Capitol. And so we'll be out there supporting our sister organization.
Wow, that's big news. Anna, thank you so much for coming on, and also the work you do. And I really, really appreciate you. I follow you on Facebook, and I try to share everything that you put up there, and that you're doing great work. And again, thank you for coming on.
Of course. Thank you for having me, and thanks for the invite. I'm glad to share some successes that we have, because you're right. Stories don't always end like this. So thank you again for your time. It's good to see everyone.
Right on. Hey, we'll be right back. This is Native Roots Radio, and we'll be right back. Did I already say that, Haley?
I think so. Stay with us.
Right on.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Signing up for $1 bus and train rides with the Transit Assistance Program, or TAP, is quick and easy. Do it straight from your computer or phone by uploading one of the pre-approved documents listed at metrotransit.org/TAP, along with a copy of your ID. We'll mail you a to-go card with a full year of discounted rides. For questions or translation help, call 612-373-3333. 612-373-3333.
Have you considered a career in the museum field? The Minnesota Historical Society is now accepting applications for its Native American Museum Fellowship. The 10-week summer program is a mix of workshops, seminars, and hands-on internships at the Minnesota Historical Society. It is open to undergraduate students, recent graduates, and community scholars with an interest in museums and heritage studies. Learn more and apply now at mnhs.org/NAI.
Support for Native Roots Radio comes from the Walker Art Center, an art space that's more than the spoon and cherry. Galleries celebrate contemporary visual art, including Indigenous artists like Edgar Heap of Birds, Cheyenne and Arapaho Nation, and Jim Demini, Ojibwe. Additionally, films screen in the cinema, and performances are shown on stage. Free every Thursday night and free every day for members and citizens of tribal nations. Learn more at walkerart.org. Again, that's walkerart.org.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
In this portion of the show, we like to bring awareness to our Minnesota wolf population. Say no to the hunts.
How did you know that I spoke wolf? That's no in wolf.
Yeah. Hey, I learned something today that they are bringing back the dire wolf, which was an extinct species.
I saw that. It's like 13,000 years ago.
Yeah, I don't know. Kind of weird
Scary.
considering
The next thing they're going to do is a dinosaur, I heard. And I'm just going, oh my
the
God.
woolly mammoth or something. I hope not.
What will that do with the ecosystem?
I don't know. We already have our gray wolf population that's been extinct in the lower 48. Well, Minnesota's always had their wolf population, and then they reintroduced some packs to like Yellowstone and Colorado area. I know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was definitely science, but I'd like to hear more about your sugar bushing, and I don't know if you have a word of the day or if you want to remind some of our listeners about past words of the days, but I've always enjoyed that.
Oh yeah, we started doing our little ho chunk word of the day. And this is just keeping I don't know, I guess keeping me accountable for learning the language in a way, because there's a lot going on, and I totally applaud people who are taking those language classes and learning their traditional language. It's so important to bring that back. What I've been using is the Ho Chunk mobile dictionary, and you can find that in the App Store, which is really great. So I just want to say a big peanut gigi to all of those Ho Chunks who put work into that app, because it's so helpful. They have the elder recordings. It's a male and female elder, so you can hear the different how the words are pronounced. But we've been talking about some clan animal names, and I know well, Arvina did one last week that we shared. It wasn't a clan animal, but it was the word for chicken, and I think it was bagahge.
Bagahge. There you go. Yeah.
Get high with it. But yeah, what other ones did we do? I know we talked about bear, which was hunch.
Right. Hey, what about I know you can introduce yourself, and then there's a online I think YouTube for Ho Chunk language, and maybe we can give them a quick shout out and then hear you introduce yourself. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Are you talking about the Ho Chunk Academy? Like
Yes.
the language academy?
Yes.
Yeah, Ho Chunk Academy. They are amazing. They put out different videos all the time. Even like reading children's book in the Ho Chunk language. That's really neat. But yeah, this is how I learned to introduce myself in the Ho Chunk language, was by watching one of their videos, actually. So Ho Chunk Raja Chasha Pewangwe Nink and Gaide, and I said the Ho Chunk name that they call me is Little Eagle Princess.
Yes, and that really fits the more and more I get to know you.
Well, I will do a little explanation about that name. So I am the only granddaughter from my grandma. I was the only niece. I'm the only daughter in my immediate family and first cousins. So, yeah. So that's why elders, Uncle Nate, great Uncle Nate, and his wife Loretta gave me Little Eagle Princess, because everyone catered to me when I was a baby.
Yeah, that's a very cool story, really. Ahu Ho Chunk Raja Wakunja Hare Hinga Dana. And I just said I'm Distant Thunder and I'm Ho Chunk there.
Yeah, we got those distant thunders coming back with the storm season.
And well, I love the name only because it really talks about my journey in a way
True.
that I've been always kind of around
Yeah, we
and
haven't talked about that in a while
yeah, isn't
on
that
the
kind of
show.
cool? I really love my name.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. What else did we talk about for words? Eagle Clan, that's us. Chashep. So
That's
we
very
have
cool.
eagle in my name. So Chashep. Shunk. Shunk junk is wolf. That was one. Shunk junk.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. Anyways, should we go back to maple syrup day? I
yes,
learned
definitely.
there's trees, they have to be at certain inches in diameter to be able to tap the tree. Did you know that?
How many inches?
It has to be at least 31.4 inches around in
Point
diameter to be able
4.
to 31.4. Yeah.
31.4.
Very
That's pretty
specific.
exact.
Yeah.
So they have to be like maple trees, though, right? To get maple
They
syrup.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's two features of a sugar maple tree, apparently. So there's red maples and then there's sugar maple trees. And part of that experience that day at Wild River State Park during their maple syrup day was going out and identifying different trees. They had some trees that we were identifying weren't maple trees. And I actually found this to be really a lot more difficult in the springtime and the wintertime when the leaves aren't on the tree because I'm, so often looking at the leaves and the shape of the leaves to determine the tree. And it kind of, was a bit more difficult, but we are identifying using the bark on the trees, which was a new learning experience for me. But we accurately identified all the trees, which was a cool thing. Kind of shows, that ancestral knowledge that's maybe built in
Yeah, your
sometimes.
DNA. That's very
Yeah.
cool. Well,
Yeah.
when we get when the trees and leaves popping up on that 1 acre, that Ho Chunk acre that we're going to be at, we'll have to have you as the guide.
Yeah, go out there and well, there is another thing too, the branches, the way that the branches grow on those maple trees, if they're opposite branching or have red buds, I think that's a maple tree. But if they're
Oh,
alternative branching and they are stemming directly in opposite directions from each other on the same
wow.
level of the branch, then it's not a maple tree. There's a lot of different distinctions.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Oh, wow.
And then for the syrup for like the water to condense down to the syrup, the water has to be above like a certain amount of degrees, or it has to be a certain amount of degrees above boiling water. It has to be 7 degrees higher than a boil to condense down into that syrup.
How did our relatives do that without a thermometer back in the day?
Just all smart and stuff.
I'm still like 31.4 inches.
I
Jeez.
know.
I got to get
I know, right?
a
They're so
ruler
smart.
out.
But yeah, so those are things that I learned, and then we got to try the different like water, sugar water before it was like turned into syrup, and yeah, it was pretty sweet. It was a lot more sweeter than I thought it would be.
So, were you able to boil off? This is probably a dumb question. Boil off some and take some home as syrup, or was this just tapping the tree and going through the process?
It was kind of like a stationed process just to learn about it. So they did have their own boiling setup out there. It was kind of like a newer way to do it. I don't think really like the native traditional way, but it was a partnered community, I think, allied thing that was put on. But it was really cool. They also had this thing out there called a sound garden.
Huh.
And do you know what that is?
It's a punk rock band from the 90s?
One of my favorite punk rock bands. Yeah, it's also that.
Or
but
grunge, I meant.
Yeah, grunge rock. They had a sound garden. So it was kind of, you go out there and they had these different stereo speakers set up, and it was like a listening experience while you're out there in nature. And they had signs up, and you were kind of like depleting your senses. So you're closing your eyes and you were sitting down and you were just listening to the different sounds. I was talking with the artist who was in charge of that, and he had actually recorded the dropping of the maple sap into metal bins.
Wow.
and used that in the sound garden, like the soundscape.
Wow. Did you
Yeah.
happen to record any of that?
I didn't. I'll have to look up information and find the artist's name because
That's crazy.
yeah.
I'd love to hear that.
Yeah.
Wow, what a great
Oh,
experience.
Yeah, I also want to mention too, I know we got about a minute here until we're left with the show, but I want to shout out Noshke Native Games and Tony Drews.
Yes.
Amazing Ojibwe games for community. I know they're adding some with the Dakota language as well. Very fun. I want to shout out, he gave me a free Noshke Games whoopee cushion with
Yes.
Ojibwe language
Yeah.
saying I farted. I think it's Ingi Boogid. I farted.
Well, we've sold his stuff at Native Roots Trading Post too, and would love to keep on going. They have beautiful art and cards and puzzles and all those things. Could you just say, there's the name Nashke for people that want to know, or send us an email and we'll turn you on to that. It's beautiful art. Hey, this has been Native Roots Radio. I really appreciate you, Haley, and the guests that make this show. And we're still here. We are the 7th generation.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native